3,000 miles of open ocean. No instruments, no written maps, just you, a wooden canoe, and the vastness of the Pacific stretching in every direction. For most of us, that's the stuff of nightmares, but for ancient Polynesian navigators, it was Tuesday. These extraordinary seafarers accomplished what many experts long considered impossible, systematically exploring and settling a region of ocean so vast, it covers 1/3 of our planet's surface. Welcome to Hoodie History, where I explore the fascinating and sometimes mysterious stories of our past. I'm Michael, your host, and today we're diving into one of humanity's most impressive achievements, how ancient Polynesians became the world's greatest navigators, crossing impossible distances with nothing but the stars, the waves, and generations of carefully memorized knowledge. While ancient Europeans were mostly hugging coastlines and freaking out if they lost sight of land, Pacific Islanders were casually embarking on 1,000-mile journeys that would make even today's sailors equipped with GPS think twice. It's like comparing someone who needs Google Maps to find their local supermarket to someone who can navigate blindfolded across an entire country. Our story begins roughly 3,500 years ago in Southeast Asia, where seafaring peoples began what would become the greatest migration in human history. Over the next 3 millennia, they would discover and settle nearly every habitable island across the Pacific, from New Guinea to Hawaii, New Zealand to Easter Island, a region covering almost 25 million square kilometers. And let's be clear about something, these weren't lost sailors accidentally washing up on distant shores after storms. Archaeological evidence, including similar plants, animals, and cultural artifacts found across widely separated islands, proves these were deliberate, planned voyages of discovery, complete with two-way travel between islands. This wasn't dumb luck, this was ancient science at its finest. At the heart of this remarkable achievement was the double-hulled voyaging canoe, a sophisticated vessel unlike anything else in the ancient world. Picture two sleek canoe hulls connected by sturdy wooden crossbeams, topped with a central platform and a triangular sail made from woven pandanus leaves. These vessels were typically 60 to 70 feet long and could carry up to 80 people, along with plants, animals, and all the supplies needed to establish new settlements. Modern reconstructions have shown these canoes were remarkably fast and stable, capable of sailing 100 to 150 miles per day, speeds comparable to modern sailboats. What's most impressive? These engineering marvels were built without metal tools, using carefully selected wood shaped with stone adzes and lashed together with coconut fiber rope. And you thought IKEA furniture was hard to assemble without the right tools. For navigation, Polynesian wayfinders used the stars as their primary guide, but this wasn't simple stargazing. This was a complex system requiring years of training. Navigators memorized the rising and setting positions of over 150 stars, creating a mental compass of 32 star paths, twice as detailed as a modern magnetic compass. Imagine the night sky as a giant dome with stars appearing to rise in the east and set in the west. A skilled navigator could identify which star would pass directly over their destination island and follow that path across the ocean. To maintain course during daylight hours when stars weren't visible, navigators aligned their canoes with the sun's position and the consistent patterns of ocean swells. Perhaps most remarkably, they could determine their latitude, their north-south position, by measuring the height of certain stars above the horizon, using just their fingers. When I try to measure anything with my fingers, I usually end up with a wobbly bookshelf or a crooked picture frame, but these navigators used their fingers to measure their position on the planet with remarkable accuracy. I think we'd know who you'd want building your furniture. The open ocean might look like an empty expanse to untrained eyes, but Polynesian navigators could read it like a map. They recognized distinctive patterns in ocean swells that had been deflected around distant islands or interrupted by underwater reefs, sometimes detecting islands over 100 miles away just by reading the waves. This knowledge wasn't written down but taught in special navigation schools, where young apprentices learned through chants, songs, and specially constructed maps made of sticks and shells called stick charts. These stick charts represented wave patterns, currents, and island positions, not to be carried on voyages but to help memorize the ocean's patterns. Apprentice navigators might spend years learning before being trusted to guide a voyage. The training was rigorous. Some accounts describe students floating in lagoons for hours, feeling how swells moved around their bodies to understand wave patterns. Compared to this, modern sailor training seems like a casual Sunday boat trip. Maybe the most remarkable achievement was the settlement of Rapa Nui, or Easter Island, one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. This tiny speck of land is over 1,200 miles from the nearest inhabited island and 2,500 miles from South America, literally in the middle of nowhere. Yet, archaeological evidence confirms Polynesians found and settled this island around 1200 CE, bringing their plants, chickens, and the knowledge to build the famous Moai statues. Some researchers believe this wasn't accidental, but the result of deliberate expeditions searching for new lands described in ancestral knowledge or prophecies. Finding Rapa Nui in the vast Pacific is like looking for a specific grain of sand in the Sahara Desert. And somehow these navigators did exactly that without a single instrument or written chart. This incredible navigational tradition nearly disappeared after European contact in the 18th century. Colonial powers banned long-distance voyaging, and introduced technologies replaced traditional methods. By the 1970s, no living Hawaiian navigator could demonstrate the ancient techniques for open ocean wayfinding. The knowledge seemed lost forever. Then came an extraordinary revival. In 1976, the Hokulea, a traditionally designed double-hulled canoe, sailed from Hawaii to Tahiti, guided solely by traditional navigation techniques. The navigator was Mau Piailug, from the tiny Micronesian island of Satawal, one of the last traditional navigators who agreed to share his knowledge before it was lost. This voyage covered more than 2,500 miles of open ocean without so much as a compass, like driving across a continent blindfolded, except with sharks. The successful journey proved beyond doubt that the ancient techniques worked, and sparked a cultural renaissance that continues today, with new generations of Polynesian navigators reclaiming their ancestral traditions. What strikes me most about this story is how fundamentally it changes our understanding of human capabilities without modern technology. For centuries, Western academics doubted these voyages were intentional, suggesting Pacific Islanders simply drifted accidentally to new lands, a perspective that reflected cultural bias more than evidence. The revival of these navigation techniques didn't just preserve cultural heritage, it proved these voyages were indeed deliberate, sophisticated achievements requiring immense knowledge and skill. It forced Western science to acknowledge what Pacific Islanders had always known: their ancestors were master navigators, not lucky castaways. There's something profound about navigation based on connection rather than instrumentation. These navigators saw themselves not as conquering the ocean, but as being in relationship with it, reading its movements and patterns. They didn't need to dominate nature with technology because they had learned to understand it deeply. The story of Polynesian navigation reminds us that sometimes the most sophisticated technology isn't a device, but knowledge, carefully observed, memorized, and passed down through generations. While modern sailors rely on GPS and satellite navigation, these ancient voyagers crossed the same waters guided by nothing but the stars, the winds, the birds, and the waves. It makes me wonder what other ancient knowledge we've lost or dismissed simply because it doesn't look like our modern understanding of technology. Perhaps true innovation isn't always about creating new devices, but sometimes about developing deeper relationships with the world around us. What aspects of ancient navigation do you find most impressive? Or what other ancient technologies would you like to learn about in future episodes? Let me know in the comments. If you found this journey across the Pacific fascinating, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss more fascinating stories from the past here on Hoodie History. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember that history isn't just about conquering new territories. Sometimes it's about finding your way across vast oceans, using nothing but the knowledge in your head and the signs nature provides.